We'll start.
Yes.
Hello there. Welcome to this edition of Talents Teach. And today we have with us a very special guest. She is a university gold medalist. She's Dr. Harini. And she's going to give us an entire lecture, a complete course on how to approach MS and DO examinations. So I hope you guys will really love it and enjoy it and get be useful out of that. So over to you, Harini.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Harini Krishna. So today I would like to speak a few things about how I managed to prepare and clear my MS and DO examinations, and also how I spent my 2 years of post-graduation. I want to tell a few things about myself. I did my undergraduation in Government Vellore Medical College. I finished in 2016. In 2017, I joined as a DO postgraduate in Aravandai Hospital, Madurai. So I finished my post-graduation in 2019. Right now, I'm working as a medical officer in General OPD in Aravind, Madurai. So what made me do well in my exams? Right from undergraduation, I had a small dream that the first jewelry I get my mom should be a gold medal. So I always worked hard in undergraduation, but somehow I don't know if I didn't present well or whether I didn't work enough. I was never able to get a gold medal in MBBS. So I always had that in mind that I should be able to get a gold medal sometime. So when I got into post-graduation, I wanted to make it happen. So from the first day, I thought I should work hard to make it possible. So once you join post-graduation, the first year is like a honeymoon period. There are no questions asked. You are really relaxed. And by the time you realize that you have actually cleared NEET and you've ended up with a postgraduate seat, you make new friends, you have fun. You have your freshers day and you go out for outings and you check out new restaurants and try new foods. Already 6 months of first year is over. But I feel first year is the time when you can actually gain a lot of knowledge, because you really need not worry about any exams and you're not really asked a lot of questions. So how to make first and second year productive? I would like to share about how I made it productive. So my first 3 months went off in orientation, and I was just getting myself oriented to the hospital and the course. But after that, I started studying. So I used to spend 1 hour or 2 hours in the library every day. So I made it a routine. The first thing is, we need to see a lot of cases every day. Never skip a chance to see patients. Every day, make sure that you see a lot of patients. After you see patients, come back in the evening and start studying. Whatever cases you saw in the morning. It could be in Parsons, it could be in payments or Kansky, but make sure you study. Because when you start studying, you would feel more confident. And the next day when you go to the OPD, you will feel like you can see patients better. Because what the mind knows, the eyes will see. So the more you study, the more better you can see patients. In a library. I was never a library person. In fact, in MBBS, I don't even know where the library was. But I just wanted to give it a try when I came to PG. But I realized that having a library is really a blessing, because in library, you actually get the mood to study. When you see others studying, you actually feel motivated to study. And you can get a lot of textbooks in the library, which makes it very easy to prepare notes too. So if you get a chance, please go to the library and just try it once. And I'm sure it's going to make you feel better. Having a good relationship and rapport with the seniors is very, very important in post-graduation, because no one is going to spoon feed you in PG. You only have to learn from your seniors. So always maintain a good rapport with them. In my case, right from how to speak with the patients and how to examine cases, I think a lot of things I've learned from my seniors only. So always be in good terms with your seniors and learn from them. Keep asking doubts. So whichever case you see, immediately ask doubt or show it to a senior and learn. That's the only way you can learn in PG. Just like a child asks his or her mom's doubts, keep asking your seniors doubts. I'm sure each one of you would have at least one senior to whom you can speak freely. To at least that senior, ask all the doubts you have. By the end of first year, I think we should be able to select your main textbook. It could be Kansky, it could be Payman, it could be anything, but you need to select your main textbook by the end of first year. So mine was Kansky, but I used to take a lot of reference from standard textbooks. So these were the books I used for every specialty. You can think of your own textbooks, but please, you can take a look at these and you can select the books from which I studied. Coming to a very important part is taking notes. There are a lot of people asking me, like, why should we waste time in taking notes? Because even for one question, if you study, if you take notes, you may end up spending more than 1 hour to take notes. So what is the use? Personally, I have never ever taken notes in MBBS, and I used to think it's a waste of time. But let me tell you, there is a difference, because in UG, you used to read only one book for every subject. So for such cases, I don't think you need to take notes. But when it comes to post-graduation, I feel that we need to study it deeper. It's not enough to just be satisfied with one book. So if you're going to refer to 2 or 3 books, then it's always better to take notes. So that's when I started taking notes. If you think you're wasting time in taking notes, remember that the time you spend now in taking notes will be saved later when you're preparing for your exams. So when speaking about taking notes, I'm just showing you an example of how I do this Retina note. You can see that it is a well-bound notebook. The first most important thing is where you take notes. Have good quality paper or a well-bound note so that the papers don't come out and you don't miss them, and you can always have it for future use. Always remember that having notes can help you in future when you're going to take teaching as a profession. It can always help you at that time. This is the first page of my notes, in which I usually write down all the questions present in that notes, or in other words, the contents of those notes. So it's very easy for me to study. In this, you can see that I've taken notes for CRAO. I've taken it in first year. So I've taken it from Ryan's. You can see that I've written all the important points I've taken from Ryan's. But if you see, I have added a sticky notes later, which in which I've written about the origin of the central retinal artery, starting from the aorta. So this way, whichever points you want to add later, you can add it with stick notes. So if at all you're not interested in taking notes, if you think it's not going to work out, select your main textbook, and whatever you read from other standard textbooks, write it down on a piece of paper or a sticky notes and add it to your main textbook. That way, when you're studying for your exam, you can get all the points from the main textbook itself. For some topics, I studied from articles. Most of them were from DOS articles. So I used to take a printout of those DOS articles and got it bound to my notes. So if you can see, this side is my notes, and I've bound it with the articles. So if you can see this page, it's just one question which I've completely written in one page. Starting the definition to the management, I filled it up in one page. Why I did this is, it's very easy for me to revise during exams. So if I just open this page, I can read everything from this one page itself, and it would save a lot of time during your revision. And this is notes of retinitis pigmentosa, which I had taken in my first year. It was from Ryan's. It was a very elaborate notes. It went on for many pages. But later on, I added the sticky notes, if you can see here. So I've written down the headings, which I have to write in an exam. So if you write down and stick like this, you need not waste time during your exam, and you can just see what all headings you have to write in your exam. When it comes to studying from articles, I studied from articles for very few topics only. So which topics? The topics which you feel is insufficient in the textbook, or you feel is very boring or lengthy in textbooks, you can go and study from articles. There is no need for you to study all the topics from articles because you will end up wasting a lot of time. So only for the questions which you're not happy with the textbook, you can go and read in articles. So from where? I studied only from DOS articles. So you can get most of them for free. You can just download it from the internet from DOS Times website. And I also read a few topics from AOS CME series. The AOS CME series consists of 35 topics, and I have personally tried 5 or 6 of them, and they were really good. You can actually read them in your first and second year, and it would really help you in gaining a lot of knowledge because most of them are written by experts, and it has a lot of good points. How to balance study and work is the biggest question in our setup because we have to be in the OPD till 6 o'clock, and the only time you have to study is after 6 o'clock. But if you plan nicely, I think you can actually carry it off very well, and you can balance study, work, and life. And just because I studied every day does not make me a boring person, because I don't remember missing even one cinema. I've watched all the cinemas in theaters. I've not missed one function or even one party in these 2 years. So it's very easy for us to balance study and work if you plan well. First thing is, if you read 1 hour per day is more than sufficient in the first and second years. So after OPD, after 6 o'clock, I used to take a small snack break and I used to go to the library and started studying. So it could be for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, but I made it a routine to do that every day. Then it became a habit that I couldn't stop myself from going to the library. You making use of Sundays. So if there are 4 Sundays in a month, one Sunday you may have to go for a camp or you may have duties. But in the rest 3 Sundays, you can at least use one Sunday to study. Because I feel Sunday is the only day when you get a lot of time to study. Other days, we may get 2 or 3 hours, but on Sunday, we get the whole day. So we can afford to spend a few hours on a Sunday to study. And making use of postings. This is a very important thing, because when you go for your specialty postings, you need to have a good rapport with the fellows and the professors and make use of that 1 month to study whatever you can in that particular specialty. So in the mornings in the postings, make sure that you finish off seeing all the important cases and learn how to examine the cases from the assistant professors and the fellows. Come back in the evening and study whatever you saw in the OPD. In my case, for instance, when I went for cornea postings, I had a very good rapport with the fellows and I made use of the postings. And I noted down all the important topics in cornea and I tried to finish them all in that 1 month. So by the end of every posting, I had almost completed all the important topics in that particular specialty. Coming to grand rounds. So why should we attend grand rounds? Only when you attend grand rounds, you actually realize that there are a lot of unusual cases and rare cases which you may not see anywhere outside. And it can also save you at a time when you are really stuck with one such case, and it can always help you to deal with such cases. Also, by attending these grand rounds, you get an idea of what are all the rare cases and how you can publish and how you can take it further. And 1 hour in a week, I think it's not a big time to sacrifice. And I always advise not to skip grand rounds and always attend them. Okay, coming to the most dreaded term, EGPG, the exam going postgraduate. I understand this better than others because I was a DO candidate, and in the first year, we are being treated as kids. And suddenly when I get into the second year, they're calling me an EGPG. So that's really dreadful. But if you plan well, you can really get through this EGPG. It can be a cakewalk for you. How did I plan? So basically, I started increasing my study hours. If I used to study for 1 hour before, I started studying for 2 hours or 3 hours. I gradually started increasing the study hours. Because I already started studying regularly in the first year, it was not something new to me. It just came like a routine. It was just a habit. I just had to increase the study times. And how I finished subjects is may sounds silly to you, but how I finished is, if the ground floor of a hospital has neuro-ophthalmology clinic, I finished neuro-ophthalmology first. The first floor of the hospital has cataract and pediatric ophthalmology. So I finished those two subjects next. Then the second floor, then the third floor. I went on like that. So every time I finished a subject, I had this amazing feeling of finishing a whole floor. This may sound silly, but you can plan anything like this, which would make you feel better and make you feel less stressed. The first and foremost is creating a question bank. I always advise you to write down your own question bank so that you actually see the questions and it makes you feel a little frightened and makes you study better. You can get question papers from the MGI University website for free. You just have to type MGI University question papers and it just comes as a PDF. You can get 20 years question papers. So I had taken 15 years question papers and written down. This is an example of my cornea question bank. I've divided it into paper 1, paper 2 and paper 3 and written down all the cornea questions which comes under each question paper. This will help you to save a lot of time when you revise and when you're preparing for your exam. For people who don't want to take notes, for them, you can just write down the questions and adjacently you can write which book you studied each topic from. You can also add the page number to it. That way, it would save a lot of time and you can immediately go to the book and the page number in which you have studied that question instead of searching for it. So when it comes to studying for exam, you actually realize there are a lot of topics and it's not just anatomy, physiology and basic science. There is biochem, microbiology, pharmacology, pathology. So you need to study all of them for the exams. There is no need for taking notes for such subjects because you're going to read in only one textbook. So there is no need to waste time in taking notes for such subjects. And also when it comes to optics and refraction, I studied in Khurana. I just used a single book. And the first page of my book, as you can see, I've written down all the questions which has been asked in the exams. So this makes it very easy to study. The most important part of basic science and optics is diagrams. So if you don't practice diagrams prior to your exams, it gets very difficult for you to draw in your exams. If you keep drawing and practicing in a rough note when you study basic science and refraction, you will be able to draw effortlessly during your exams. So this is my rough note. Every day after the OPD, I used to collect the waste papers and root slips, pin it up, make it into a rough note, and keep practicing diagrams. I don't remember a single time studying these two subjects without having a rough note nearby. Because of practicing these diagrams before, I was able to draw effortlessly and beautifully in my exams. So coming to case presentations, a person who attends OPD regularly will have no problem in examining the patients and in case presentations. But the important part is having the case format in your mind. You need to have the pro forma or the case format by heart. If you know the sequence and what comes next, then it's just going to be easy for you. I used Aravind FAQ in ophthalmology for studying for practicals. After you study each case, you just have to come to FAQ ophthalmology and read the questions. Another thing I followed is whenever I study a topic for theory, say retinoblastoma, if I study for theory, after I finish that topic, I used to take my FAQ and just look at what are all the questions given in FAQ for that topic. So if you finish it off adjacently, it will help you for answering in your Viva. And ophthalmology for clinicals for postgraduates by Namrata Sharma. I bought this book only towards the end during my practicals, and I used it for preparing for my Viva. So I am a very much a group study person. I always like to study in groups. So for people who like to study in groups, please do that, because I feel it will help you to save a lot of time. It will reduce your stress, and it can help you cover topics fast. Never shy to ask for help. It's not at all wrong to ask for help. There have been so many seniors, so many juniors. I owe them, because they have taught me so many topics. I've had wonderful seniors who even used to take notes and give for me. So you open your mouth and ask for help. There is nothing wrong in asking for help. When someone asks you to teach a topic, never tell no. By teaching them, you actually understand better and you would remember better. So, whichever topic you feel you're confident, never feel shy to teach someone. Always lend a helping hand and teach others. Coming to model tests I feel is very, very important, because all of us would have given our last exams during our UG final year exams. So by the time we give our postgraduate exams, it would have been 3 or 4 years or even more. So you would have lost the speed of writing exams, and it will be very difficult for you to give an exam directly. So it's better to give model tests before the exam. So I attended all the model tests which was conducted in the hospital every month. But other than that, during my study holidays of 15 days, I wrote a test every day in the morning from 6 to 9. So some of the question papers were prepared by my husband, and some of them I just downloaded randomly from MGI University website. It could be MS question paper or a DO question paper. I used to write from 6 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock, just to test my speed and how nicely I'm able to present in this 3 hours. I think writing these model tests played a very, very important role in the success in my exams. Okay, so the most awaited study holidays. All of us are constantly speaking about our study holidays and waiting for our study holidays. You should make a proper timetable for the study holidays and adhere to it, or else you will end up wasting a lot of time and not studying anything during the study holidays. If you have prepared earlier, if you started preparing for your exams at much earlier, you can use the study holidays only for revision. So that would make you really confident. As in my case, I already told, I started studying right from the first day of my second year. So I used my study holidays just for revision. It made me feel a lot better, and it made me feel really, really confident. And keep the volatile topics at the end. Whichever topic you feel is difficult or you're not able to remember easily, please keep those topics at the end. So coming to the theory examinations, as I already mentioned, it would have been a long time since we sat for theory examination. So be mentally and physically prepared, and you can do it. First thing we need to do is, once they give us the question paper, you will have 5 minutes before you start the exam. In those 5 minutes, you need to plan the headings under which you're going to write for each question. If you can see here, I've given a pattern starting from definition, etiology, signs and symptoms, investigation, management, complications, DD, newer advances and studies. Note the point of newer advances or studies. If you add these points to every question, it would give a better mark value, and you would be able to score better than others. But write according to these headings. You will have a flow if you write according to these headings, and you will not waste a lot of time. Coming to the handwriting, you have already seen mine. It's really, really bad. But how I made it look better is I used to write it bigger. Once I started writing bigger, it looked more legible and it looked better. And writing crisp answers. Don't write really lengthy answers, because no one has the patience to read such lengthy answers. Answer to the point, and sufficient answers are more than enough. Highlighting and using colors is very, very important in our university exams. Use a maximum of 3 colors and not more than that, because using a lot of colors will make your answer sheet look very, very shabby. Highlight the important points and use color pens to write headings. It would give a very nice look to your answer sheets. Coming to the diagrams, as I already mentioned, it's very, very important to draw diagrams, and make sure your diagrams are large. Don't draw them with pens or pencils. use sketch pens or color pens to draw diagrams. And coming to flow charts, 1 or 2 flow charts per question is sufficient. Don't make a lot of flow charts, and don't write everything in points. There should be some content written in paragraph and some content written in points. If you write everything in points, that doesn't give a good look to the answer. And don't forget to see the model answer sheets in our library, so you would get an idea of how you're going to present. So this is the question paper pattern. This is a general pattern for all exams. You have 250 marks and pen 7 marks. It's not like UG where we had 3 mark questions, 1 mark and MCQ for some people, in which you can save time. Here, it's going to be very difficult for you to complete the question paper. So start writing fast right from the first question so that you finish on time. If you're late, even in one question, you're going to end up leaving questions at the end. For MS candidates, for basic science, you have to write 20 questions in 3 hours. So if you don't plan properly, you're going to definitely leave questions at the end. Because each question carries only 5 marks, there is no need to write for more than 1.5 sides or more than 2 sides and waste time. This is an example of how I would approach a question. So as you can already see, the handwriting is not great, but it's big and legible. And if you see the diagram, you can actually realize that I'm a very bad artist, but it conveys what it needs to convey. So I have used sketch pens. Always follow the color code when you draw diagrams and leave space above and below the diagram. Don't cramp your diagrams into the written space. It makes it look really ugly. Plan and leave space for drawing diagrams and maintain space between the written part and the diagram part. When you label the parts, make sure you label it on one side. It gives a nice, clean and good appearance to your diagrams. Coming to practicals and Viva, I would always say that people who attended the postings regularly and saw patients and have good attendance will come to the practicals with good confidence, because you know how to examine the patients. So you just need to come to the practical examination with utmost confidence. Have your pro forma or the case format by heart and examine your case well and come in front of the examiner. When you're presenting a case, please be audible to the examiner, because there is nothing more irritating than not being able to hear your voice if you're speaking in a very low volume or you're mumbling. So please don't make that mistake. Be audible and clear and confident in what you're saying. Please answer to the point. There is no need for you to give extra answers. If you're going to give extra answers, that is going to be a loophole and you're going to end up in trouble. So please answer to the point for the question which the examiner asks you. Never shy to tell that you don't know. Instead of giving a very irrelevant or a stupid answer or beating around the bush, I think you should just tell, I don't know. That is not going to irritate the examiner. So if you don't know answer, please be open and tell the examiner that you don't know. Never commit the mistake of arguing with the examiner. Just give your point and try to substantiate it. If it is not accepted, then accept with what the examiner tells. The examiner is always correct. So never argue with an examiner. It's only going to bring you disappointment. So accept with whatever the examiner tells. So being sincere, coming to the OPD, if you start studying from an early stage, and if you study with all your heart, if you put in all the hard work with all your heart, I think it's just going to be a cakewalk for you in your exams. What made the difference in my case? I always feel success does not just depend on exams. It is an accumulation of a lot of things. So probably I was sincere enough, or maybe the hard work, or I don't know what made the difference, but God has been truly gracious to me. And remember that hard work can anyway beat talent. So if you've been working hard enough, I think you will definitely be able to bag the fruit for it. And even if you know little, I'm sure there would have been a lot of people who gave the exams with me, who would have known better than me, who would have studied better than me, who are a lot more intelligent than me. But presenting what you know, that showing to other people what you know is definitely important than the knowledge you have. So I think maybe in some way I would have presented it better than others, which made me get some success. And the early bird gets the worm. I always attribute my exam results to starting preparation quite early. As I already mentioned, by the time the study holidays came, I had almost finished maybe 1 or 2 revisions. So I was so confident when I went to my examination. So make sure you start preparing for your exams quite early. The first picture is me when I received Dr. G. Venkatasamy Gold Medal in Aramandai Hospital. And I was finally successful in getting this small piece of jewelry from my mom. And the second picture is when I received Dr. Rama Mohan Gold Medal, which is the University Gold Medal from our governor. This is just my journey of how I went about in my post-graduation and how I came out in flying colors. So I wish you all the best. And I always feel that there is no substitute for hard work. If you work hard, and definitely success is yours. Thank you. Over to you, Pranesh sir.
Wow, that's really a very extensive presentation. It was like a masterclass on how to actually approach your exams. I think she was very crisp, yet also elaborate. She really picked on the details of where we would miss. And it was extensive and beautifully covered, Harini. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly try to summarize everything. Let me just share my screen for a moment. Right. Now, if there is one key message from Harini's talk, that would be like it's creating a routine or creating a habit, because she has done her career for 2 years as a resident, and almost every day she went to the library, sat there for 2 hours and read, which requires lots of discipline. I've never done that. Many of us will not do, but just understand that discipline is what has taken her to that status of attaining a gold medal. So let me just quickly go through this. First and foremost is see the patients, because most of us think reading books is enough, but more than books, patients teaches more. And whatever you have seen from the patients, whatever diagnosis you have come to to diagnose or to come to understand, go back to your room and read about those specific diagnoses so that it's more relatable and relevant. And like she said, it's all about having the knowledge in the mind. What the mind will not know, the eyes will not see. Raise questions. Being inquisitive, being sincere is very important, and never have your ego come into play. Ask seniors and juniors whatever help required. And she has beautifully given all her wonderful notebooks, the notes she has created. If you can just understand how she has made her notes, it was like one notebook, Retina. In that, she has had the question bank with all the self-written, topic-wise relevant questions asked in the previous years. She has also mentioned which page number she wants to read from. She has xeroxed DOS articles. She has attached onto that note. Also, she has an extensive self-written note. And just understand, in one of her notes, what she showed, she has put a sticky notes of central retinal arteries anatomy. What an interesting idea is, like most of us, when we read basic sciences, we feel very bored because just anatomy only. But when you can integrate anatomy into your clinical science by keeping these sticky notes, for example, in CRIO, she has put CRA, a central retinal arteries anatomy. That is a very interesting, very nice way to really encapsulate everything together. Now, Grand Rounds is a weekly event occurring across Aravind Eye Care system, where we all get together, where presenters discuss rare cases, very interesting case scenarios, diagnostic dilemmas. If grand rounds or such meetings are not available in your college or in your institution, you can always attend conferences occurring in your city, state conferences, national conferences. There are lots of similar grand rounds occurring in the online. There are a lot of institutes like LV Prasad or also like giving away these online grand rounds. You can please attend them. Practicing diagrams is the key. Like I've never practiced like her. Now it's so hardcore. She has collected all the rough pages and she's worked on. So consistent practicing diagrams is very, very important. And like she mentioned, it's all about learning by teaching. Teaching is probably the best way one can learn. And if you can offer to teach others, you learn better. I just want to mention about FAQ. She just made a mention of that. FAQ by Venkatesh Prajanasar is a very tricky book. Not many people find it readable, but in fact, it has the amount of knowledge, the amount of information it contains is so extensive that if you're going to read that book for your Viva, that should be enough, I feel. But the best way to utilize that book is by reading a master book like Kansky or Payman or Yanoff, whatever, or even Zia Chaudhary. Read the text and come back to FAQs so that it will kind of consolidate the knowledge better rather than the reversal. I think many of us will try to do the opposite way. We try to read FAQs, especially when Prajana sir wants us to answer those questions every weekend, the modules. But the best way is read the textbook first and then the FAQ. I know it's not always possible, but if what I felt was if you want to make the best use of this beautiful book, it is by always reading the textbook prior and then coming back to FAQs. Self-tests. I've never taken any self-test till date, but I feel self-test is one of the reasons why she has won that gold medal, because practice makes a man perfect. It's as simple as that. And it takes dedication to do self-tests, because most of the tests, what we do is an open book test or an open phone test. That's what we do. But timing yourself, closing all the resources and practicing, putting yourself there, again, that's what discipline it all comes to. Even if you are not like Harini, if you're like me, who is not very keen on taking these discipline self-tests, open book tests also will help. Try to make sure that you take those notes from standard books and you create a set of notes. So use self-tests as an opportunity, or the tests given by institutions as an opportunity to create your own set of notes if you're not that person who wants to take notes voluntarily. One interesting thing what Harini mentioned was to keep the volatile subjects at the end. For me, basic sciences was the volatile part. So what I did was, after covering the clinical part, then I did basic sciences before attending the exam on basic sciences, because for MS, basic sciences is the very first paper. So if you can find a week to revise basic sciences and then you attend the exam directly, that will be helpful, rather than keeping basic sciences beforehand and trying to read clinicals before the first exam. So it kind of makes sense, I think. And she has beautifully given us examples of how she actually presented in examinations. Color coding is important, and like she mentioned, proper spacing of those diagrams between the text is crucial. It kind of gives a very nice aesthetic appearance. And last but not the least, being precise, means to the point, being honest, admitting that I don't know, being respectful for the examiners is always important. And I just got one tip to add to whatever you have said. Like she mentioned, to plan a question when you answer in your theory exams. What I do is, whenever I receive my question paper, you will have on one page you will have the questions, the other page will be blank, and you'll be given some time between the question paper and the answer sheet, or you will have at least a couple of minutes gap will be there, or even then you can always take a couple of minutes to plan this. On the blank page of your question paper, you make a mind map. You make like a flow chart and keep in pencil or in pen, so that this will be like a rough work. And you can easily expand this rough mind map into a big essay if you want. So it kind of really saves time. It keeps your answer well organized also. I just have a couple of questions for Harini. Harini, what is the role of Parsons? Because we all been asked to read Parsons, but none of us do. I've never done Parsons, but what is the role of Parsons? Have you read that?
Sir, coming to Parsons, I studied Parsons, not extensively, but first 2 or 3 months during the time of the orientation, I feel it's always better to read Parsons, because it's easy for you to get into the subject, just get known with ophthalmology. I think Parsons plays a role in that, but I've not really read it very extensively, so I'm not able to comment on it. But the initial days, like probably first 1 or 2 months, I studied Parsons.
Right. Now, speaking of Parsons, another relevant book is a UG Kurana. Like I have heard many of my colleagues saying that you read UG Kurana, you can pass. That is what they say. But there are selected topics in UG Kurana which are not given elsewhere. For example, community ophthalmology, just beautifully given in UG Kurana, then in other textbooks. So how do you feel? Have you read UG Kurana?
Yes, sir. I have a list of questions which I studied from UG Kurana. Coming to community ophthalmology, of course, I studied UG Kurana, but I use another book called Dr. GVS Murthy. But there are a few topics which I had studied from UG Kurana, and I think it's not wrong to study. But if you're going to use UG Kurana to only UG Kurana to study for the book, I think that's really wrong, because you're doing injustice to the subject.
Correct.
So you can for few topics, but not for all topics. I feel you can pass by studying UG Kurana. I'm sure you can pass, but you're not doing justice. So I don't recommend UG Kurana for all topics.
That's true. Because you are a PG, not a UG, right? So makes
yes,
yeah. So another very tricky area is the basic sciences. You mentioned basic sciences at the last of your slide, right? When is wise to start basic sciences? When it is like, is it like, can we start like 3 months before exams, or do you recommend to start at the very beginning of our residency?
Sir, I already mentioned, when I started studying specialties, like for example, if I start cornea, I start with the basic science. I finish off the basics, the anatomy and physiology of cornea. And after that only I move to the clinical science of cornea. Similarly for every specialty. This I'm not telling during just before the exam. I'm telling you this when I started, like from the first day of my final year. Right. That's how I studied every specialty. So I always combined the basic science with the clinical science. That way I finished off basic science with each specialty.
Good. So you integrated.
And then I went back revising basic sciences before my exam.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. So you kind of integrated both. You kind of combined the anatomy part with the clinical part. Great.
Yes.
Good. So what we'll do is we'll try to make sure the audience who are listening to this talk to get the maximum out of that. So what Harini and I planned to was to create a PDF. So let me just share the screen again. Right. So what we can do is, we'll try to compile a PDF which contains the question bank of MS as well as DO. Year-wise, it's easy to obtain. We'll try to create a topic-wise also. We'll try for that. Web resources consisting of DOS articles, AIOS, CME series, some very important, essential, web resources, especially for DO and MS, along with whatever Harini has told. All the pearls she has given us, we'll all compile together, make it more easy to assimilate for you guys. So I think it was a brilliant talk, Harini. Thank you so much. You did great. And I hope anybody, could be a DNB resident or it could be an MS resident. I think even people across specialties would also find this discussion very useful. So thank you so much. And you want to have to tell to anything to your juniors? Last one advice.
Yes. So my only advice to juniors is, please be open, please be sincere. Come to believe that ophthalmology is going to be our life. It's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. It's not like undergraduation. Post-graduation is going to determine your life. So be nice to patients, be nice to people around you, and learn as much as you can. Because I think post-graduation is the only time when you're actually able to learn, you're able to study, and make good use of that post-graduation time. All the best. And if you follow such advices, I think you're going to do really well, and you're going to have a really nice time in your post-graduation.
Great. So thank you so much, Harini. That was great. Very nice to have you here. So I hope the audience really loved this presentation. So thank you so much for listening. Cheers. Bye-bye.